Destiny 3 would have to be very different to Destiny 2. I don't think it would be just the same formula of here's 4 new planets, here's some enemies, here's a villain, here's a bad guy we need to stop, here's some weapons. I think it would need to have some very different gameplay elements, because once they release Destiny 3, Destiny 2 will basically be non-existent. It will be kind of like what Destiny 1 is right now, where no one really plays it because Destiny 2 is just kind of bigger and better in every way. Obviously, Destiny 1 still is nostalgia. It's nice to play. It's still an amazing, polished game. But no one plays Destiny 1 because Destiny 2 is the current game that gets updates and new stuff. So that same thing would happen to Destiny 2. So there would be an incentive for Destiny 3 to be a little bit different. Maybe it kind of has, people have talked about maybe like a competitive online mode, which kind of like Overwatch, where they're kind of like heroes. And that would also fit into the kind of idea of there not being classes, where you can just play as just whatever. You just play as a character that just has these abilities, and it isn't by the same Destiny formula. But it would have to be somewhat different to Destiny 2 just to kind of be able to coexist. And also, of course, a lot of money is coming in with Destiny 2. So once they release Destiny 3, they're also severing their main supply line of revenue. So you're going to have to make sure you've got something good before you move on.
It is my big hope, because I think one of the big gulfs between Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 is people looked back at D1 and said, we had all this content we could play, and now we've gone to this. Right? And the other gulf was the fact that, the systems in D2 made it a slower, less exciting game. Like Super took 5 minutes to charge, whereas you could charge it in the space of 1 minute now with all the buffs and changes. Weapons were just completely nerfed into the floor and did practically nothing exciting. There was nothing to chase. There was nothing fun going on with them. So, there was a lot of system errors going from 1 to 2 initially. So getting those things right is really important. I can't stress enough what you're saying about content being correct. There's got to be a massive slab of content, and it can't just be a series of new planets, etc. There needs to be that foundational change, and not just change for change's sake, because that's how you get into trouble, but it needs to be able to bring something more. And I think it needs to dynamically evolve Destiny's formula. Destiny 2, much as it was a good sequel on its first release, I think it's fair to say it's not really an evolution of what Destiny was, right? It was a continuation of Destiny. If you wanted evolution, look at Final Shape, I'd say. You're taking the idea of subclasses, maybe even Beyond Light for that point, for subclass 2.0, but you're taking the idea of taking any of your abilities and just doing whatever with them. The ideas of transcendence, adding a new enemy race, adding an entirely new system by which you play, reworking the way that players interact with their builds using exotics. These are the things that represent more of an evolution, and even those I don't think represent the kind of big evolution that Destiny 3 would need to pose in order to be enticing for players. So it's about, there's got to be a massive increase in landmark content when Destiny 3 releases. But I would also say that, you're completely correct with regards to how much they need to release, whilst it's also the case that you can't just throw the baby out with the bathwater, right? There is genuinely good stuff in D2 that works, and we need to have the devs identify what that is and keep it.
Sure.
And that's not to say it's an individual exotic, because that's too narrow of a focus. I'm saying there are systems that work. The way that subclass synergies fit together, the way that you can build around certain items, and with the mod system and the artifact and everything else, you can come up with something coherent and really powerful. These are the things that can function. So let's go ahead and just keep these together and make sure that you keep the good and transfer that over, and at least use it as building blocks for what's going to make D3 fantastic.
Yeah. It would need to be a much more different shift. There would need to be much more of a different evolution from Destiny 2 into 3 than there was from 1 into 2. Because 1 and 2, it was just just a giant expansion it was still a new game, completely new planets, but still same enemies, same guns, same format and structure. And obviously they only had a couple of years to make it. It was very much rushed, and as we know, kind of delayed a little bit. But Destiny 1 into 2 wasn't that much of a shift. It was just a bigger, better, more of the same, but obviously they just expanded stuff. Patrol was just much better with adventures and lost sectors and flashpoints, and it was just much more expanded. But Destiny 3 wouldn't, I mean, it wouldn't need to be like crazy whole new thing. It would still have the Destiny formula. Thus, it would still be called Destiny 3. Otherwise, it would be called something else. But it definitely would need to be a big step up, not just a Destiny 2.5 kind of step up.
Yeah. You know what I'd want? And this totally runs against the grain of it being a looter. So maybe this is something where I'd receive things being like, this is not the kind of direction of evolution that's necessary. I'd love to see them narratively evolve it so that it's a little bit more like Mass Effect in terms of just the pure story aspect of it, you know? I'm not saying that you should always have a fire team of squad mates around you, but I am saying that you could definitely do a lot by having more missions where you run side by side with companions that can actually impact the battle and give you a sense of camaraderie. Like, can you imagine if you're running a mission where you need to sit there and infiltrate the Vex network and you get to choose two companions? Who's not picking like Osiris or Saint 14 or Mithrax to go by their side and do the thing? And like how interesting those stories and interactions can be. Because honestly, like I think that there is now, after all of Destiny 2's time, a really strong foundational set of characters that people have have grown to love and grown to know. So I think that there's a real strength that's hidden there that they could flesh out and push into new gameplay terms. And what they do with that, I don't know, but if they do incorporate it more in that, I sense that there is a chance for them to do something great and to really make it so that these characters are characters that you love. I mean, anyone who's played Mass Effect, right? I imagine that they're a fan of Garrus Vakarian. We have Garrus Vakarian level characters in this game, I'd say. They're just not put forefront into the actual fighting next to your Guardian. I'd say that if you expand the narrative of this alongside all the looting aspects of it, you can do something really great. Now, that's not easy, and it's always been stated before that part of the reason why Bungie's storytelling is in the more limited scope that it is because of the fact that you need a lot of stuff to work on a big narrative that goes over not just the narrative team itself, but also localizing it into the 12 or so languages that Destiny does. And then also you need to go ahead and have everything properly QA tested across all the different variants. If you are doing companions in a gameplay sense as well, then that's a whole other mess. Like, it's a big deal getting all this stuff written. Trust me, I've spoken to devs. They've told me about the nonsense that it is to actually give Destiny its time in the sun when it comes to the narrative. And the fact we get what we get is pretty damn incredible in the first place. But like, that's what I'd really want to see. And I feel like that evolution really fits to Destiny because you can continue to show like, hey, this is a universe worth investing your time in because these are characters that you can learn to grow and appreciate and really feel some camaraderie about.
Yeah.